Looking for the perfect happy hour to unwind after a long day at work? Look no further than Walter's Indoor-Outdoor Happy Hour, catering to everyone who lives in and around Navy Yard. $5 happy hour options include salmon sliders and house red wine.
Take me out to the ball game.
What are you doing?
Did you know DirecTV has the most MLB games?
So, you're singing.
Yeah, they put your favorite teams front and center right when you turn it on. Buy me some cold cuts and flapjacks.
Those aren't even the words.
I'm allergic to peanuts.
Stream DirecTV, home of the most MLB games. Visit DirecTV.com. Claim based on total games offered on sports networks. Availability varies by zip code and package. New customers. Service renews monthly unless you cancel. Choice package required. Restrictions apply.
He deals. Swinging a high fly ball, right center field deep. Long chase going back. Cruz looking up, and it is gone. Over the big wall in right center field. 3-run homer for Brandon Nimmo. And this game busted wide open at 6-0. Here's Brandon Nimmo. Pitch. Nimmo blasts one right field deep. Cruz going back to the warning track, and it is gone. A grand slam for Nimmo. 1 inning after he hit a 3-run homer. So that's 2 homers and 7 RBIs for Nimmo. And it is now 11-0.
Next delivery, long drive, left center field by Vientos. Way back is Young, and it is gone. Goodbye. Into the Budweiser red seats. 3-run homer for Mark Vientos in the top of the 9th inning. It's now the Mets 19 to the Nationals 5.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark Zuckerman is off for this installment of the podcast, but I'm pleased to be joined by the man who runs the podcast, Tim Shovers. Now, as you likely know by now, Tim and his wife on Sunday took their 10-month-old daughter to her first MLB game, what was the 8-7 Nats walk-off win over the New York Mets at Nationals Park on Sunday afternoon. Thank goodness the Shovers went to that game and not the Nats' next game, the game that we're about to talk about, a 19-5 loss to the Mets at Nationals Park on Monday for a split of this 4-game series against the Major League leading Mets. The Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 13-16. The Mets in this regular season now are an MLB best 20-9. You could find us on X at Nats_chat. You could find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. And we have a website that we invite you to check out, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. Tim, you picked the right game to attend.
Oh, absolutely. Though I will say, Layla's first ever inning on Sunday was the Mitchell Parker give up 5 runs. So her first half inning, she saw a team bat around. It felt like the Mets bat around a bunch here today on Monday. Blah day, blah game, kind of an awkward 4-game wraparound series. Monday, 4:05 for a series that started on Friday. That awkwardness sort of was felt by the Nats, it felt like today, as they got trucked.
By the way, you on the official Nats Chat Podcast X account, at Nats_chat, posted a photo of a certificate that your daughter got for that game. I didn't realize this. When you take your child to his or her first game, you actually get a certificate from the team. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, let me use this as a public service announcement, Al. I'm glad you brought that up. There are 3 locations where you can get your first game certificate. One's by the center field gate, and then there's 2 others around the stadium. Do not wait in the line by the center field gate. You'll be waiting with like 100 people. Literally, it was Sunday. It was Kids Day. Go to section 131, guest services. You'll have the place to yourself.
See, but how do they know that that is your daughter's first game? Like, how do they know that you're not some scoundrel who has been to like 12 games with your daughter, and every time you say that it's her first game? Is there some sort of proof that you have to show that it's in fact her first game?
The proof is the baby in your hand. That seems to be the proof. I don't know, but I think it's an all honor system that we have here.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm not really sure what the grand plan would be in accumulating a bunch of first game certificates, but if you're into that sort of thing, I don't know that the policing is necessarily what it should be. Anyway, 19-5, the final of this game. So Trevor Williams was the Nats starting pitcher in this game. He officially allowed 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings, although the final 2 runs came with him out of the game. He gave up 5 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks. He did record 5 strikeouts. That was good. He threw 99 pitches, 63 strikes, 36 balls. Williams in the top of the second allowed 2 runs on 2 singles, an RBI double, and an RBI sac fly. Also in the inning, a pass ball by catcher K-Bit Ruiz. Williams in the top of the 5th allowed a run on a leadoff first pitch homer by Jeff McNeil to right center for a 3-0 Mets lead. And Williams in the top of the 6th got charged with 2 runs off issuing back-to-back one-out walks. But what truly made a mess of this game was the Nats bullpen. 3 Nats relievers and 1 Nats position player combined to allow 14 runs in 3 2/3 innings. Let that sink in. 14 runs in 3 2/3 innings. The Nats bullpen, remember, was quite good in games 2 and 3 of this series. We talked about that on this podcast. All of that good undone by what went down on Monday. Colin Poche, he officially allowed 1 run in 2/3 of an inning. He came into the game in the top of the 6th with runners on first and second, went out, and the Nats down 3-0. So this is still a competitive game at this point, but he promptly issued a wild pitch, and he, to the first batter he faced, gave up a 1-out, 3-run homer by Brandon Nimmo, get used to hearing that name, to right center field for a 6-0 Mets lead. Poche also gave up a 2-out opposite field triple by Jeff McNeil to left field, despite him having been down in the count at 1.12. Cole Henry, who had been good, he allowed 5 runs in 1 inning. He, in the top of the 7th, allowed 5 runs, including giving up a 1-out first pitch grand slam by Brandon Nimmo to right field for an 11-0 Mets lead. Also in the inning was Henry issuing 2 hit-by pitches, and of the same batter, Francisco Lindor. I don't know that I had ever seen that before. The same guy getting hit by a pitch twice in 1 inning. Eduardo Salazar, he allowed 4 runs in 1 inning. He, in the top of the 8th, allowed 4 runs, including giving up a bases-loaded 2-run double by Brandon Nimmo down the right field line for a 13-0 Mets lead, giving Nimmo 9 RBI in the game, tying the Mets record for most RBI by a player in a regular season game. And then came the tomfoolery. The position player pitching utility man Ahmed Rosario, he allowed 4 runs in 1 inning. He, in the top of the 9th, allowed the 4 runs, including giving up a 3-run homer by Mark Vientos to center field for a 19-5 Mets lead. Tim, 3 Nats relievers and Ahmed Rosario combining to allow a whopping 14 runs in 3 2/3 innings.
Totally embarrassing, but to me, the worst part of this, the one part of concern, is the Cole Henry aspect of it, because he's someone who's shown promise since getting called up and being in the Major League bullpen. And, it was already 7-0, so I don't know how locked in he was, and every reliever has their bad day, and a grand slam has a way to fill up one stat sheet rather quickly. But, you don't want to see too many more of these from Cole Henry, because you're hoping that he is someone who, maybe he's not in the A bullpen, but he's in the B+ bullpen, the A- bullpen, if you will. So that part was discouraging. And then the other one is, and we've said this before, but position players pitching, I understand the strategy behind it, and you got to fill innings, and you only have so many available arms, but it's a total joke. It becomes beer league softball at that point, and it's no longer a Major League Baseball game. And so I hate seeing innings like that, but I'm aware that the game was already over by then at that point anyhow.
Yeah, I don't blame Davey Martinez for doing that, but it is a complete embarrassment. It's a mockery of the game. I mean, understand this. Rosario's average pitch velocity per StatCast was 49.9 miles per hour. And so he's up there throwing these like pseudo-ephus pitches, and the Mets are teeing off. And so the game gets even more out of hand. Rosario ends up with some whacked out stat line. The Nats relief pitching ERA takes more of a beating. It's just not good. And I know like the Nats don't go into the game looking to do this. And I don't know what the alternative would be. Like, what do you want, a mercy rule in MLB? Like, what is this, Little League? So I don't know that there's necessarily a solution to this. But it's not funny. Like, it used to be kind of funny when position players pitch. It's not funny. It just makes a total joke of everything. I also want to point out Poche. We've talked about this. I don't know how many more times we have to talk about this. Colin Poche now, for this regular season has an ERA of 12.91. 12.91. He has a whip of 2.87. He's on a minor league contract, okay? This is not a guy on a Strasburg or Corbin-like contract. He's on a minor league contract. How and why he is still on the team, I have no idea. I have nothing personal against Colin Poche, but the guy's got an ERA approaching 13. He's put a ton of guys on base. He's on a minor league contract. I don't get why you can't eat that money and just move on at this point. The other thing, though, is the Nats' overall relief pitching, which continues to just be wretched. The Nats are dead last in the majors in relief pitching ERA for this regular season at 7.30, and that by miles is the worst relief pitching ERA in the majors. This problem is not getting better, and we talk about like the last two games having been good for the bullpen. An outing like this completely undoes whatever goodwill had been established over those previous two games.
It completely undoes it. I'm with you that Poche, there's no reason to keep him on because of it wouldn't be that big of a loss to cut him or to DFA or whatever. And, if something's broken, try something else, right? The answer, unfortunately, is that the pitching staff in Rochester isn't very good. The Nats don't seem to have a ton of options. However, maybe it's time to try someone else. There's a guy, Connor Pilkington, who had a bad outing recently. He's a left-hander for Rochester, for example. Maybe he stinks. I don't know. But give him a shot over Poche because we've reached a non-competitive portion of Colin Poche. And that's the thing that bothers me the most is that we all know it. We're all enough baseball fans. And we've watched enough games to know when we see a guy who currently does not belong in the major leagues, just like we made that determination in 2019 early on with Trevor Rosenthal. We're there with Poche, and let's try someone else.
Well, and if for whatever reason you want to keep the guy and you still believe in him, then concoct some injury, put him on the 15-day injured list, let him take a break and go with somebody else. Like, just do something. But to keep putting him out there like this, I just don't get it. I think there's enough of a sample size at this point to say, okay, just continually trotting him out there isn't the way to go. So either park him on the IL or get rid of him. But to keep running him out there, just to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. Hey, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation, which has a gift for Nats Chat podcast listeners that's as good as any James Wood home run. 4 free windows for every 4 windows that you buy, and you pay nothing until 2027. This offer is good through April 30th, so hurry. Schedule your free estimate at 866-90Nation or windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. There's no limit to how much you can save, and if you buy a house full of windows, Window Nation will include a free entry door. Window Nation partners with the top window manufacturers in the nation to build windows to their high-quality specs. Then Window Nation passes the savings on to you. You'll protect your home with some of the best windows that you can buy at a fraction of the price of other brands, and you'll increase the value of your home. 4 free windows for every 4 windows that you buy, and you pay nothing until 2027. The offer is good through April 30th. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
I'm excited to tell you about the designs Homage has cooked up for the 2025 MLB season. If you're as baseball obsessed as I am, you'll love the full roster of major league looks from Homage. Amazing comfort and deep cut designs that help fans show off passion for their favorite teams. Homage has a massive selection that tells the story of the greatest sport from its very beginnings. Deep logo history, coast-to-coast stadium tours, and the biggest players from every era. Legends never die at Homage. If you need your new shirt for going to a ball game, Homage has you covered with its most comfortable fan clothing, and it's available for fans of all ages. This year's collection hits dinger after dinger after tater after tater. Fleece, tees, bottoms, and more. And don't forget to check out the new starter jacket lineup, an iconic dugout look you don't want to miss. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die, and these looks go long, period. Check out the Homage MLB collection to find your team's coolest gear.
Take me out to the ball game.
What are you doing?
Did you know DirecTV has the most MLB games?
So, you're singing.
Yeah, they put your favorite teams front and center right when you turn it on. Buy me some cold cuts and flapjacks.
Those aren't even the words.
I'm allergic to peanuts.
Stream DirecTV, home of the most MLB games. Visit DirecTV.com. Claim based on total games offered on sports networks. Availability varies by zip code and package. New customers. Service renews monthly unless you cancel. Choice package required. Restrictions apply.
And the pitch to Wood, belted deep right center field. This won't be a shutout. This one is into the second deck in right center field. What a blast by James Wood. That one lands in section 242 underneath the scoreboard. A titanic shot for Wood for home run number 9 and RBI number 20. And the Nationals are on the board here in the bottom of the 8th inning. It's now the Mets 15 and the Nationals 1.
The Nats offense in this 19-5 loss to the Mets at Nationals Park on Monday. 5 runs, 12 hits, 4 walks, 3 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The 12 hits were 2 homers, a double, and 9 singles. You hear all of that, you say, okay, the offense was pretty good, but all 5 of the runs and 7 of the hits came in a 5-run 8th during garbage time. So these were kind of empty numbers, but we did get a mammoth homer from James Wood. Wood, as the Nats starting DH and number 2 batter, 1 for 4 with a solo homer and a walk. Wood in that Nats 5-run 8th, a leadoff homer on a bomb to right center to cut the Nats deficit to 15-1. The homer went a projected 438 feet per Statcast. James Wood for this regular season now, 9 home runs, and he is number 1 among all qualified Nats in OPS at 922. Also, Nathaniel Lowe, he is the Nats starting first baseman and cleanup batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer and a walk. He in that Nats 5-run 8th had a went-out first pitch, opposite field solo homer to left center to cut the Nats deficit to 15-2. Lowe for this regular season, number 3 among all qualified Nats and OPS at 763. But the James Wood homer was something. I know it doesn't mean much because of the nature of the game, but that was some shot, and Wood continues to produce.
The Wood homer was the best part of this game because not only was it a home run and runs for the Washington Nationals, but it came at a point where the game was well over. But it's a reminder that every James Wood at bat is worth watching this year. He has 9 home runs, which puts him 1 back of the lead for the major leagues, not just the NL, for the major leagues. So where I'm going with this is that it's in the realm of possibilities that James Wood competes for the NL home run title this year. So we haven't had that sort of thing in a while here in Washington. I mean, Soto kind of, Harper definitely, but a true home run hitter that can keep your attention even when the game is well out of reach. I think that's just a nice April reminder today of a new thing that we have with Nats baseball.
Well, you got to think he's an early candidate to be a part of the MLB All-Star Home Run Derby, in addition to being a candidate to be an MLB All-Star. And to whatever degree you can, take numbers now and extract them over the course of the 162, 9 homers in 29 games. I mean, he right now is on pace for a 45 home run, 50 home run season. I mean, think about that. I think most people going into this season would have taken 30 homers from James Wood. I thought he'd hit 35. He's tracking toward finishing with a home run total in the upper 40s, lower 50s. That is sensational that he's doing that. He's getting on base a ton. He just has been awesome. I feel like, at times he's taken for granted just because, he's already really good. And it's just okay, he's good. We know what he is. But no, he's young. It was not a guarantee that he was going to be this good. And he really has yet to truly struggle at the major league level. I mean, last season, yes, there was the nit to pick of him not hitting for enough power, but he still got on base a lot. He still finished with overall good numbers, and the power is certainly there this season. The overall numbers certainly are there this season, and he puts on a show. I mean, that home run was something. And then I also want to salute Nathaniel Lowe, who to me has been one of the Nats, 3 or 4 best hitters this season. He's been so consistent. I think that trade just continues to look better and better. I know you disagree on that, Robert Garcia for Nathaniel Lowe, but to me, you always trade the reliever for the everyday player, especially a guy like Lowe, who has been just such a steady presence for the Nats in terms of offensive and defensive production.
Cosign, I think Lowe's been fantastic. I'm glad that the Nats have a hitting first baseman. It's been a while, something you usually take for granted, not the case with recent Washington Nationals baseball. But with the Robert Garcia trade, I get what you're saying, and when I first read it over the offseason, I'm like, man, the Nats made out like bandits here. But if you look at Robert Garcia's numbers, a 1.42 ERA and his whip is 0.95. So he is an A bullpen pitcher on a team that does not have 3 A bullpen pitchers. You could make the argument that the Nats would have more victories if they had Robert Garcia on the team than Nathaniel Lowe. That's where I'm coming from with this. And just a reminder to Nats fans who just sort of gave Rizzo the trade, the W off the bat, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, we'll see with Garcia. I am going to be awfully curious to see what that ERA and what that whip are looking like come, July, August, September. But he is doing well. You're right. I still, though, would say, even if you say, okay, Garcia's a really good reliever, I still think the really good everyday position player is worth more than the really good reliever, and is certainly more reliable. The Nats have Nathaniel Lowe for at least 2 seasons, this season and next season. And like I said, he's been a consistent player throughout his career. He's not a great player. He's not a superstar, but he's a good, solid offensive producer, and he plays a good first base. And I just think that that's worth more than a reliever, especially a guy like Garcia, who, even if he does have a good season, Garcia, to me, is probably one of these guys who's going to fluctuate and be kind of year to year. But he's doing well. I will concede that point to you. He's doing well. He's certainly doing better than the majority of the pitchers who constantly make it up the Nats bullpen.
Yes, I agree with you on paper and in a vacuum. I'm not saying that the trade's been decided in Texas's favor. I'm just saying that if you dive into it, Garcia would have been rather valuable to this roster. And let's just say that Garcia is part of the A bullpen. They still would have had bullpen issues, but that has been the dominant theme of this April. Whereas if they hadn't pulled off the trade, I don't know if the dominant theme of our April would be, man, the Nats don't have a hitter at first base. So that's kind of where I come from.
Well, the Nats continue to hit homers, and Lowe's been a part of that. And I think that in a lot of ways is one of the biggest developments of this Nats season, how much better the Nats have been in terms of hitting the home run. We begged and pleaded for the Nats to be better in that department. We spent the last few years really lamenting the Nats' lack of power, and the power is back in a big way. And even in a blowout loss like this one on Monday, 2 more homers. The Nats have 31 home runs over 29 games. The Nats are on pace here to finish with more home runs than games played, which is such an improvement from where the Nats have been in terms of home runs over these last 2 regular seasons. I mean, understand, the Nats last regular season had 135 home runs. So 135 over the 162. This regular season, 31 homers over 29 games. The Nats are pacing toward upping their overall home run production by 30, 40 home runs. That's outstanding improvement. So I give the Nats a lot of credit for that. Even in a 19-5 loss, we can highlight something like that, which I think big picture for this season is actually quite good.
LinkedIn Jobs is here to help small business owners with that crucial step of making the right hires. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates you can manage all in one place. Here's how it works. Simply post your job, and LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. You can either post your job for free or pay to promote it, and promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified candidates. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring today. Find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/natschat. That's linkedin.com/natschat to post your job for free. LinkedIn.com/natschat. Terms and conditions apply.
And now 2 pigeons bemoaning the fact you can choose the TV you want with DirecTV.
So now they can pick out their favorite entertainment when they sign up and save money?
You mean if you like sports?
You can get a sports pack.
What about entertainment?
Entertainment pack.
It's like finding an old pizza with your favorite toppings, which for me would be pineapple and toenails.
Pineapple?
Pay for the TV you want, not the TV you don't. Genre pack starting at $34.99 a month. Visit directtv.com for more information. New residential customers only. Local channels vary by market. Services renew monthly unless you cancel online. Credit card required. Restrictions apply.
Infield in for Pete Alonso. The pitch is grounded up the middle. That's a base hit into center field. Lindor will score. Soto will stop at third. Young's throw in is cut off by Lowe. And it's 7-0 New York. Alonso had a rough day. Picks up his 27th RBI on the ground ball single.
So I wanted to bring this up with you. Monday marked 1 week since the birth of MASN Plus, which is a really big deal if you're a Nats fan. MASN finally getting on board with the year 2025 and offering a direct-to-consumer streaming option. It's actually a really good deal, and I'm going to sound like I'm doing a commercial for MASN, but $20 a month, and you get both Nationals and Orioles games. It's not one or the other, it's both. And you can stream MASN, finally. This is something that so many people have been begging for, and finally it has arrived. Now, I have not heard from anyone who is using MASN Plus. I don't know if that means that a lot of people aren't using it, or just that people are using it, aren't having any problems, and have nothing to complain about. I actually would be interested to hear from people who listen to this podcast who are using MASN Plus. Have you heard from or talked to anyone who's using MASN Plus?
I have not. I agree it's a great deal, especially when you get both teams, if you're interested in both teams. The only thing I've heard about, and someone emailed about this, is that they mistakenly on the first day, if you signed up for the $89.99 option, you were momentarily charged $8,999. Now, that was rectified within the same day, but I imagine a lot of people, their hearts dropped when they saw that all of a sudden and had to move some funds around to get through the day. But that aside, I haven't heard much about it. I'm excited about this because I was reading, for months, whenever a team would come out with a new direct-to-consumer option, in the writing would say 27 teams now have this, with the exception of the Washington Nationals, Baltimore Orioles, and Houston Astros. I don't know if the Astros have taken care of it in the last month or two, but I'm glad that the Nats, and even the Orioles, because they're a team not too far away from where most of our listeners live, I'm glad that that's been rectified.
Yeah, I mean, this was long overdue. It's impossible to think that it's just a coincidence that this happens shortly after the end of the MASN dispute. I mean, just to establish the timeline here, March 3rd was that shocking announcement that the MASN dispute was over, and then April 21st is the announcement of the birth of MASN Plus. So you think about that 6-week stretch. I mean, major changes in terms of the television landscape for baseball in the Washington, D.C. area. And the other thing that you wonder about is, so, okay, the Nats are with MASN for this season, and then beyond this can explore alternatives for their television rights. Is MASN Plus MASN's way of trying to keep the Nats, And I don't know the answer to that, but that's something that you have to wonder. Because if you're MASN, ideally you do keep the Nats. Now, if you're the Nats, ideally you find something better than MASN. But as we have discussed, there aren't many realistic options beyond MASN for the Nats. You have Monumental Sports Network. You have this MLB bundling that Commissioner Rob Manfred is trying to put together. And you have MASN. In the current television landscape, you're not starting your own regional sports network. That's not happening. And I don't know where else you're going here. So, the way I look at it, you have 3 options if you're the Nats beyond this season. A, Monumental Sports Network. B, MASN. C, the Rob Manfred bundle. So, yeah, I mean, as much as you may not want to stay with MASN, at the very least, if you're the Nats, I think you want them in the mix for leverage purposes. But maybe the MASN option is more viable than people think. And MASN Plus, I think, makes MASN at least somewhat more viable. And that that if you stay, you're going to have an option that is appealing to people. Now, whether it is as lucrative as what you get when someone is watching your games on cable television, that's a different conversation. But just in terms of getting people to watch your games, getting eyeballs on your games, MASN Plus clearly helps the MASN cause when it comes to trying to keep the Nats beyond this season.
Definitely. I think it increases the chances that the Nats could be on MASN in 2026. You and I talked about that a few months ago when the surprising news came out. I think at very least, as you mentioned, from a leverage standpoint, it just makes MASN a bit stronger going into negotiations as the Nats and the Orioles figure out their broadcasting options for the future. But to all those things you mentioned, we have 4 major parties involved here, and I'm not entirely sure of all their motivations. I'm talking about the Baltimore Orioles, the Washington Nationals, Monumental Network / Ted Leonsis, and Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner, who has very openly tried to make it such that in 2028, he wants this MLB bundle. He's trying to go away from the old model, combine a lot of teams' rights. It's going to take a while to get the Yankees and Dodgers and Cubs, but he's trying to get the shortlist marquee teams together. So where all these 4 parties fit, I honestly have no clue, and I'd be lying to you if I said I have figured it out. But I think this is very, that was my first thought as well. All right, MASN made themselves more bona fide with this, and yes, opening day 2026 is far away, but in business sense, it's not that far away. We're under a year, and there'll be a lot to figure out. So right now, if I had to guess, if I had to bet on it, I would say that I think the Nats and Orioles are going to be on MASN next season.
It's more possible than I think people realize, as much as I'm sure people don't want it to happen. I think it's more of a possibility than you may think. And, Monumental Sports Network comes up a lot, and maybe that is the best path for the Nats beyond this season. But what I come back to with Monumental is this. If Ted Leonsis doesn't own the Nats, why wouldn't it be that the Nats on Monumental ultimately take a backseat to the teams that are owned by Ted Leonsis, the Capitals, the Wizards, and even the Mystics? One of the problems with MASN has always been that the Nats play second fiddle to the Orioles because the Orioles own MASN. Well, if Ted doesn't own the Nats, why wouldn't it be that the Nats take a backseat on Monumental to Ted's properties? So that's just something to think about. Now, maybe you say, hey, the majority of the Nats season is when the Capitals and Wizards aren't playing, so that sort of rectifies this issue of the Nats playing second fiddle to Ted's teams, and maybe that's correct, but just something to think about. I think it's different if Ted owns the Nats, but right now it doesn't look like we're headed in that direction. I mean, the last that we heard from Ted Leonsis in terms of his quest to buy the Nats, the Lerners are not actively trying to sell the team right now. Ted was pretty upfront about that, so if a sale is coming, it looks like it would be news to Ted. So we'll see. I think it's a fascinating issue, though, where the Nats go beyond this season in terms of their local television rights. And I'm not sure that the Nats know. There is so much uncertainty right now with local sports television. To sit here and say that you know where things are headed, nobody knows, including people in the business. And if you're the Nats, you look at these options, and there are pros, but there are cons. There are significant cons with all of these. So I think it's going to be so interesting to see what the Nats do from a television standpoint beyond this season.
There's no home run option for the Nats or the Orioles. There's no home run option for really 20 to 25 teams in Major League Baseball right now. You talk about Leonsis. We know that he has pursued the team. That's been widely reported. It's also been reported that he has a relationship with Rubenstein, and the Orioles have to figure out, by the way, their future. That can't be underestimated in all this. So that's why I say it gets really confusing and intertwined very quickly. And you're talking about a lot of powerful parties that are going to have to come to an agreement by the end of this season. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it to me right now.
Well, if you're using MASN Plus, we want to hear from you. How was your experience so far? You can hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can hit us up on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. Next up for the Nats is a 6-game road trip beginning with a 3-game series at the Philadelphia Phillies. Game 1, Tuesday evening, 6:45. Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2, Wednesday evening, 6:45. Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3, Thursday evening, 6:45. Brad Lord will be the Nats starting pitcher. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Tim Shovers, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
And Garcia delivers. Swinging a ground ball back to the mound. It's speared by Garcia. He'll lob the ball to first and the inning over. So welcome back, Robert Garcia off the injured list. A 1-2-3 inning through the top of the order with a couple of strikeouts.
Imagine what's possible in your business career when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format is available in select business programs and lets you learn at a time and pace that works for you. That means you don't have to put your life on hold while earning your business degree. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.